Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and I'm going to debate the following motion. This House would introduce compulsory military service for all adults. All right, so the proposition shall commence. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the House, we would introduce compulsory military service for all adults for 1 year, usually commencing at the age of 18, unless there was a particular reason why somebody needed to postpone it. They complete their schooling and then they would do their 12 months military service. Why? A number of reasons. Primarily defence. But besides that chief reason, there'd be all sorts of other social benefits to people's health, to equality and so on that would follow in the train of this policy. Another reason is to promote gender equality. It's both women and men would have to do it. That's crucial. Lastly, because it would involve the whole community in a really positive project. So let me go over this again. The larger the armed forces, the better the deterrence is against any would-be aggressor. So obviously we're not going to make somebody a superb soldier in a year. They get through their basic training and they would know how to fire their weapon, things like that. So if a war ever did occur, there could be a mass call-up, levé en masse, like that, and any enemy would know that every man and woman who was able-bodied would be able to fight against them. So that was that. And this is practical. It's done in many countries. It's done in Switzerland. It's done in Israel. It was done in many other countries before. So it would be a massive boost to the military. The best way to prepare for peace is to be ready for war. It would put off anybody who would consider attacking us. Now, other benefits are people would become a lot more healthy because they'd be doing this exercise. It would inculcate positive habits. They would carry over into civilian life. They would learn how to look after themselves. They would develop self-respect, take a real pride in their appearance, be into polishing their shoes and everything like that. And it would foster a sense of camaraderie between people from all over the country, geographical unity, social unity. It'd promote egalitarianism, people of all social classes. We would deliberately mingle people from the furthest reaches of the country, people from the metropolis with people from the rural areas. So you wouldn't be allowed to have geographical units. And people would be sent to see parts of the country they'd never otherwise seen. And so they all have this experience in common. It would do a tremendous amount to foster national unity. It's been seen in countries such as Turkey. So there are many other countries that do this, that have obligatory military service, such as Finland, such as South Korea. These are free societies. And people have felt the terrible disadvantage of abolishing compulsory military service, where it's been done away with in most Western countries now. So it would promote gender equality. What men can do, women can do. All right, there are a few physical constraints on women, but apart from that, really, they can achieve the same. And there's some roles for which women are particularly suitable because they tend to be smaller, can be in tanks, in confined spaces, can be in submarines. So the Army, Navy, and Air Force, not just the Army. If a woman is pregnant or breastfeeding, something like that, she'll be able to delay her military service until she's discharged those maternal duties. If a woman is performing military service and becomes pregnant, then of course she could immediately leave and return in a few years when it's a suitable time for her. There's no reason to exclude women. We have gender equality. Women have the right to vote, therefore they have the same duties if they have the same rights. People say, oh, but their role is as a mother. These days women have 1 or 2 children. Typically, plenty of women never have a child. So there's no reason why she shouldn't do her military service. Anyway, women get to retire earlier and they live longer. So there's no reason why they shouldn't serve their country militarily. Even physically disabled people can do this. Singapore does this. They'll be found a role which is opposite and concomitant with their physical disability. It could be peeling potatoes. It could be, doing data entry on the computer. Mentally disabled people, if they can be found a role, however basic, everyone should contribute. Only those with a very serious criminal record should be excluded. And that's the way it works in Singapore. So for these reasons, we ought to do this. I commend it to the House. It will promote defence. It will promote good habits. It will promote gender equality. And it will foster national unity like nothing else can. I beg to propose. Right. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'm going to tell you why this dreadful motion must be and shall be rejected. It's completely unnecessary because all the positive corollaries could be achieved by better means, because militarism is a vice in itself, and lastly, because the cost would be exorbitant. Well, let me go over this again. So starting with our principal ground for objecting to this motion. There's no need for this. No one in the military is calling for this. And as my opponent pointed out, countries have done away with mass conscription. We shouldn't have this sort of service. It should be self-selecting. People who are suitable for the military should step forward. It's a whole lifestyle. So those who don't want to be in it shouldn't be in it. It's terrible. Wars can be fought by drones in future. It's technology. It takes a very long time to master these things. You can't have just any idiot who's got no idea what he's doing or she's doing, don't want to do it, dragged it off the street, forced through basic training. It'll lower their standards, their physical training standards. And military people have said this to me, like in Germany when it was got rid of. An army officer said she was elated because they wasted all their time training these people. No sooner had these boys learned how to do it than they were out. All right? So it's pointless. And there's a reason why countries have moved away from it. We have fewer and fewer people who are going to do the actual fighting. It'll be technology. Now, there were some positive things that could be achieved. Sport. You don't need to be a soldier to do sport. Anyone can do sport. There are all sorts of ways the government can do sport with sort of, offering free sports training sessions, things like that, more parks, more gyms to be built for free, more PE in schools. Camaraderie, you get that in your job, in anything, in any group of friends. It's not for the government to force people together. We should have freedom of association. Social unity can be achieved through other ways. As for egalitarianism, this is preposterous. The army's most inegalitarian thing ever, with a pecking order, with saluting, with behaving like automatons. So no, it absolutely does not promote self-reliance, individuality, things like that. Some people crave the military lifestyle, fine, but we shouldn't impose it on others. What about rights? What about individual rights? We don't force people to be firemen or gardeners or nurses or taxi drivers. Let people choose their own path in life. If they don't want to be there, they're going to be obstructive, they're going to hate it, they're going to ruin it, they're going to run away and desert. I can see it being an absolute cataclysm. So gender equality should be promoted in all sorts of other areas, in all sorts of other professions, not particularly amongst soldiers, sailors and Air Force personnel, most of whom are not terribly well paid. There are other occupations where women need to break through the glass ceiling, particularly in business and financial services. Now, coming to another thing, this is all about militarism. Militarism is bad. I'm very glad it's been consigned to the wastebasket of history. This is incipient totalitarianism. Creeping in, I hear jingoism, rolling out the drums of war. I don't like this deafening drumbeat. And if we have a huge army, our neighbours are going to have a huge army. It promotes an arms race, and people get jittery, and they get a hair trigger, and this is what starts wars. Well, they build up their army, so we've got to build up our one even bigger than that. So then we've got to build up one bigger than that. Well, let's go to war now, whilst we have the advantage. Things like that. It's a chauvinistic thing to do. So it is dangerously stupid. So another thing about this ludicrous idea. Where's the money going to come from? Nary a word about that. You're going to tax more. You're going to cut spending in other areas. You're going to borrow, make the deficit balloon even more. A combination of all three is completely uncosted because it's completely unworkable. So you will be taking money out of the mouths of babes to buy weapons we don't need for people who don't wish to be soldiers. It's so moronic, you couldn't make it up. It's going to disrupt the economy. It's going to take people out of the labour market where they can do things economically productive instead of just using, not generating wealth. And you said pregnant women could leave immediately. So they'll just get themselves pregnant to get out of the military. Then they could, might have an abortion or something like that, claim they had a miscarriage. And when you're going to fit them back in, it will be completely disruptive. There'll be no unit cohesion. People will flee the country to get away from this. There'll be all sorts of cases of resisting it. The military will spend half their time chasing the people who've deserted. So this will be a total cataclysm. There's absolutely no need for this dreadful policy. There is no desire for it. It's a back of an envelope, asinine plan. And that is why I urge the House to reject this motion.